All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Wednesday afternoon. Another KnicksFanTV and Bleacher Report simulcast. On today's show, we are going to debrief a brutal Knicks Game 4 loss to the Indiana Pacers, and the Knicks on the brink of elimination. We got to talk about it, man. We are with our guy checking in live from Giants OTAs, the first day of OTAs. He covers the New York Football Giants for WFAN and Giants.com. And when he's not doing that, he is a diehard Knicks fan / NBA analyst. Breaking it down with us today is our guy, John Schmeelk. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. It was a tough one last night, so let's talk about it, man. Let's debrief this one and figure out, number one, how they can get back into this thing, and number two, can we solve the Brunson-Towns dilemma? There just seems to be a disconnect there, and we got to get into it, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. All right, let's go, man.
CP, you hit it. That's the dilemma. You know, everyone wants to yell about Josh Hart turnovers and, Bridges, passing on layups. And, yeah, those were problems last night. I thought Tom Thibodeau coached his worst game of the playoffs. And I'm a Thibodeau supporter more so than other people that want to fire him after every loss.
Yeah.
But you could push all that aside. The structural problem remains. I think we talked about this back in September after the Towns trade, right? And we talked about how the Knicks were going to do when their two best offensive players were not just their worst defenders, but were defenders at important positions that other teams can target. And they did a good job, and again, the coach did a good job of mitigating that in round one against the Pistons and round two against the Celtics. But the way the Pacers run their offense and are structured, they're uniquely outfitted, I think, to challenge those two players. And quite frankly, there's no way to scheme around it. Like, eventually, those two guys are going to have to stand up and do their jobs. Last night, I think Brunson was worse than Towns. I mean, he's picking his own guy, trying to get back on these hedges. He ran the Bridges, 3 times in the game?
Yeah.
And that's saying something, giving Towns allowed around 4 or 5 straight line drives or backdoor cuts when his man's setting the screen and he didn't help. So, look, those guys are going to have to stand up and do a better job. If they don't, the Knicks will give up 125 again, and they're not going to do enough to win. I just don't know how you scheme around that, because that to me is still the bottom line basic problem, which is why they're losing these games.
Yeah, it's you're right on the money, man. I left that game with so much in terms of why they lost and so much issues with that loss, and we'll get into it. But I continue to worry about how they can coexist defensively together on the court, and then even offensively, man. Like, I think, what is the stat? Like, he's got 1 assist to Karl-Anthony Towns in I think either in last night's game. I just don't see any type of fluidity between these two guys. I think you're right. On the defensive end, it's even worse. Like, especially how Cap navigates through those screens and the communication or lack thereof that they're still having. I just don't know. Is this sustainable even beyond this?
Yeah, and look, those were the physical mistakes that I talked about, right? Like the hedging and running into Bridges and Towns not helping out. But the thing that drives me more nuts, and look, I don't want to give Bridges a pass because he could have been better defensively in that game too, and he could have been, but he did a pretty good job on Haliburton the first 3 games of the series. Right. Like, when he's on him and he doesn't get screened off, he does a pretty good job of slowing him down. How many times did Bridges think a switch was coming and then it didn't come? Where he's purposely not trying to fight over the screen. He's running into the defender because he thinks the switch is going to happen, so he's going to stick with the screener. And I don't know how you're in Game 5 of a series and you're still making those types of mistakes at this point, or Game 4 rather. You should know, all right, we're either switching everything, or if it's these two players, we're hedging and getting back. There still seems to be some confusion there. And both of us know Tom Thibodeau. No one's more detail-oriented than him. If you don't think he's drilling defensive assignments with these players, trust me, he is. That's all Tom Thibodeau does. He lives for that. Right. That's what he lives for, drilling defensive assignments. So I can't imagine that's a coach thing. Could maybe he simplify it where you just switch everything and that's it? And I think that's what you're going to have to get down to. And eventually Towns and Brunson are going to have to guard one-on-one. But like, you cannot have these types of things where one player thinks you're doing one coverage, another thinks you're doing another. You can't do that against the Pacers. They're going to beat you. You're not going to win. And I feel like a broken record, but until that switches, then that changes. Nothing else is going to change.
Yeah, against a team like that, you can't afford to blink. Or else they're right to the basket, or the ball is zipping all the way around the perimeter, finding an open guy. You really have to be dialed in on all cylinders, kind of like an OKC, and no issues, no communication breakdowns. Every one hand knows what the other hand is doing, and this is continuing to bedevil this Knicks team deep into the playoffs, which, again, this is why they put themselves in this hole down 3-1 for the most part. How about the turnovers last night, man? How about that, man? I mean, against...
And unforced ones, too, which is what drove me nuts.
Handing these guys the ball, literally, against the best transition offense in the playoffs. Literally giving them extra chances to bury you. That was the sloppiest game I've seen the Knicks play this entire playoffs, man.
No,
brutal.
And CP, I'm with you. And by the way, after this playoff run is over, and hopefully it's going to be a lot longer, the series is not over, by the way. The Pacers came back from 3-1 last year. Knicks can do the same. There's not a lot separating these teams, right? All these games have been close. The Knicks didn't have a historic collapse in game one. This series should be tied 2-2. So let's not make out like the Pacers are completely outclassing the Knicks. They've just been a little bit better than them over the course of 4 games, which is fine. But once the season is over, we need to talk about what the structure of this team needs to look like next year. I don't think we can come back with both Towns and Thibodeau. I don't think that's going to work. I'm not sure we can come back with both Brunson and Towns. And I don't think Brunson's going anywhere. I don't think you think Brunson's going anywhere either.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of can set up what we're going to do in the offseason. Mm-hmm. But look, the turnovers. This is... And I do wonder if at some point Leon Rose is going to have to take Josh Hart away from Tom Thibodeau, because if you're not going to take Josh Hart out of the game after what he did last night, and again, I've been a Josh Hart supporter. A lot of fans like to blame him for everything. I think what we've seen, CP, has the starting lineup been any better than the old starting lineup since they made the change? What, maybe a little bit?
Maybe a little bit, but the Pacers are just running 100 miles an hour to negate that.
It wasn't a Josh Hart problem.
Right.
This was a Brunson Cat problem. To our point earlier, right? But until you take Josh Hart away from Tom Thibodeau, he's going to play him 35 minutes. That's just what he's going to do. And Josh Hart was terrible last night. I mean, let's just call it like it is. There were other players that had turnovers too. Then I think the 2 ones that killed me the most were the Brunson and Bridges just throwing the ball right to the Pacers at the start of the third quarter. I don't know what they were doing, but. Hart's trying to throw lobs to Precious Achua and jamming passes into the paint.
How about to Towns? He's got Towns in double coverage. Towns can't jump over a book, man.
And then he's trying to, on defense, he's losing guys on back cuts. He's not communicating well. There was a play, and I think this was the third quarter play, where he just lays off of Siakam and gives him a baseline 3 for no reason. Press up on him. You're smaller. Make him drive around you. You can stay in front of him. Use your feet. And he was bad last night, all right? He made some plays in the fourth quarter, but he was a big part of putting the Knicks in that hole. I don't understand. I guess the reason, and I would guess why Deuce didn't play more in that game, CP, is that Thibodeau does not trust him to guard C.J. McConnell. And frankly, I don't blame him. I don't trust him to guard C.J. McConnell either, because T.J. McConnell keeps killing him over and over again. But I think there's no reason that McBride shouldn't have been in there for some of those Hart minutes.
15 minutes?
Because Hart was bad.
15 minutes from McBride when he was one of your best players in game 3? That just made no sense, man. And it's one thing where it's just as you said, even when he comes off the bench, I still expected him to get his lion's share of minutes if he's contributing. Game 3, he was much better. Game 4, from beginning to end, he just was not. I just thought the Pacers' pace overall just sped this team up into oblivion, man.
I thought McBride, after being terrible early in the playoffs, I thought he's been pretty good.
I thought he's been good. He's been good against the Celtics. He's been good against the Pacers.
And people have been asked to expand the bench, and I think especially in Game 4 that probably did help, just because the pace. I think the pace in Game 4 was much faster than Game 3.
Very.
I think all the free throws in the second half slowed it down, and that kind of negated it a little bit late.
Yeah,
but. I think everyone thought you expand the rotation, you reduce the minutes of the starters. They just took minutes away from McBride and gave him right.
Yeah.
That's not what we're looking for. If you're going to do it, you got to do it the other way. And the other thing that drove me nuts a little bit, CP, and everybody's like, oh, man, you should have played the right Shamet together more in the second half. What are you doing? People, this is why plus minus can be a stupid stat sometimes. The only reason, and I stress, the only reason those guys were positive in their plus minus for the last 2 games. Who was not in the game, CP, when those 2 players were on the floor?
Yeah. Haliburton.
Tyrese Haliburton.
Haliburton.
All right?
Yeah.
The Pacers are a different team when Haliburton's on the floor. Go look at their plus minus. Look at their plus minus with and without a Haliburton over the course of the entire postseason. It's night and day. So that's why that lineup looks good. It's because Haliburton's not out there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I did like Delon Wright. I've been advocating for him to play a lot more in these playoffs.
Well, he was great versus McConnell. He's the only guy that could guard him.
He was. That's why coming into the series, I'm like, give me Delon Wright off the bench to guard McConnell. Forget Payne. I don't know if Deuce can do it. I'd like to see Deuce get that revenge, but Delon Wright at least can give you something to slow down McConnell, which is wingspan, good defensive acumen, and he showed that yesterday. But again, puzzling decision. Closing with Shamet instead of Deuce. Again, they were on an uphill climb, but the decision by Thibs saying that he needed more height, as if this guy's like 6'7". I said, wait, what?
Look, Thibs doesn't like to give honest answers, and I think that's his cop-out answer. I don't think that's the truth, to be honest with you. I just don't think he wants to say anything negative about Deuce McBride, so he has to come up with some cockamamie reason to put in Landry Shamet.
Right.
I can't imagine.
It's like his searching when he says they're searching. It's
And by the way, how about putting Mitch back in the game at some point, right? Like we talk about the structural issue with Cat and Brunson. And by the way, I thought Mitch played a bad first half.
Yeah,
he did nothing in the
he
first
didn't do
half of
much.
that game.
He
He
was
didn't
negated.
offensive rebound.
Right.
And he was messing up some of those assignments on defense too. He wasn't switching when he was supposed to, etc. But you got something from him in the third quarter. He started offensive rebounding. He started impacting the game defensively. Then you take him out, and you never see him again.
Right.
I didn't get that either, which, again, I've been kinder to Thibs and most of the fans out there, but I think he's been thrown for a little bit of a loop here, having to make these lineup changes and rotation changes on the fly. And I think especially in Game 4, he did not handle it particularly well.
Yeah, he didn't trust it. He didn't trust it at all. And so that led to a frustrating loss. I mean, going into the third quarter down by 5, and within 3 minutes, you're down by 13. Yeah. Like, what is going on here, man? You end the second. They ended every quarter terribly. First, going into halftime, every quarter they ended terribly. And so to see them leave halftime like that when it should have been a lot closer or even have the lead, and then you're like, all right, let's see how things start, and it's a nightmare just from the opening inbound.
Yeah, look, the start of the third quarter was terrible, and I felt pretty good down 5 at halftime, given how the Pacers shot to start that game, and how well Haliburton played in that first half, almost like a triple-double and a half. I'm like, all right, you're only down 5 here. I feel okay about this.
Right.
Then you come out, and I mentioned the 2 turnovers from Bridges and Brunson. It turns into easy baskets. You get to see. I think that was the Siakam. Maybe somebody hit a 3 in there. And look, you cannot put yourself in that type of hole. And look, they scored 30. Like, people were complaining, well, Brunson only took 2 shots in the fourth quarter. What's up with that? They scored 30 points.
Yeah.
They scored 30 points in the quarter. That should be enough to win the game. But CP, they gave up 132 points. Look, I thought going into this game that this was going to maybe be their toughest game of the postseason, where the Pacers, after a loss at home, second home game, were going to come out flying. You saw this against the Cavs, right?
Yeah,
where they played bad in Game 3, came out in Game 4. They were going to be flying in this game. And then they hung with them. They hung with them. But then they just could never get the stop when they needed it. And that was all she wrote, man.
That was all she wrote, man. CP The Fanchise, John Schmeelk on the 1s and 2s. The Game 4 debrief, one that many want to erase from their memory, man. What a brutal night that was. If you guys want to call us up, we'll be here. Call us on the KFTV Discord and let us know your thoughts. We had a lot of callers who couldn't get on last night, so if you guys want to call in, if you're listening now, then definitely let us know. Salute to all.
How long did you go last night?
Oh, man, we were on for about 2.5 hours. I got back from the watch party when the show was already an hour in, and I did an hour and a half with JD and Alex. So, yeah.
Are you going to be at the game tomorrow night or no?
No. I'm going to be here. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I will be there.
You're gonna
I
be
will
there.
put
Okay.
myself through that suffering again. Hopefully the result's better than game 1 and game 2.
Hopefully. But speaking of results, man, which one of the Mikal Bridges fadeaways did you like the least? Which one? Which one was Mikal Bridges' drive to the basket only to reverse and do a difficult fadeaway?
You know what happened, CP? And he kind of said this in his post-game interview. I think the missed layup spooked him. You know, and when he actually shoots the layups, he's actually usually pretty good at finishing.
Yeah.
But he missed that layup in the first half. And then he kind of, you saw him after it, he kind of went like, rolled his eyes and put his head back.
Yeah.
And then he was, and look, he's never one to lean into contact anyway. But I almost feel like that messed with his head a little bit. There were two that bothered me the most. The first one was on the fast break where and Stan Van Gundy, I thought rightfully pointed this out, where he kind of took 2 or 3 steps back, took a fadeaway over Neesmith, and no one else was back to rebound. And then there was another. Then the second one in the second half, they were going left to right on TV, and he caught it in like the lower left block, and I felt like he could have went straight up for it, and he faded, and he gave up another close shot to pass it out to Hart.
That one, that one was in the fourth quarter, and Hart steps on the end line. It was either
Another
third or
turnover.
fourth quarter.
Another turnover, right?
turnover.
So, look, at least Bridges actually hit his threes for once, right? He had 4 for 5 from 3. He had a couple big ones in the fourth quarter that tried to get him back, but then he missed a couple of those baseline ones on the move that he usually is pretty good at hitting. But, like, look, what's killed the Knicks in this series, dude, is that the issues that have popped up all year have all kind of clustered themselves in the individual games this series, right? The Bridges fighting over screens, which has not been great. And look, I just don't think and it makes sense, right? A 6'6" long and lanky guy isn't going to be great guarding smaller, quicker guys fighting over screens, right? More compact guys like Neesmith, who are stronger and broader, that can kind of fight through the big man's shoulder. They're going to be better at that than a lankier guy like Bridges is. The inability the unwillingness, I should say, to go strong to the basket and finish with power at the hoop. That's popped up. Josh Hart, mental farts on both sides of the ball. Those have popped up. That's been a problem all series long. We talked about the Brunson and Cat defense. Cat with the unserious basketball at times, even offensively, right? Like that one when he got his own offensive rebound and dribbled back for that step back 3.
Oh, my goodness. And the shot clock reset. That was a we don't need that classic. That is why I came up with those lines. Those were saved for Julius. But Karl-Anthony Towns, oh my goodness.
I'm rooting for Julius, by the way, but we have seen Nick playoff Julius show up for the Timberwolves in the last couple of games.
Yes, we have. But that one was like, it was like his internal shot clock was down to 2. I'm like, bro, wait, what? What is that?
Sometimes I'm not sure his internal clock is working.
Yeah.
I think it's intermittent. I think it kind of shows up and
Man.
disappears from time to time. But look, that's the type of, and this is Jeremy Cohen uses this, and Benji makes from over Nick Film School uses this a lot, and they say it's unserious basketball, and too many times with Cat on defense and an offense, it's unserious basketball. Yeah. And look, he can put together quarters like he did in Game 3. He's capable of that. Even when he's playing unserious basketball, he's so physically gifted and talented that he can do stuff like that. But it's not consistent enough that can overcome the nonsense fouls, right?
Oh, man.
Like, he's hooking Haliburton.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That was 2 games ago, I realized this.
Yeah.
But, like,
that one was, man.
What are you doing?
Man.
Why are you hooking a guy that you have an advantage against? It doesn't make any sense.
Hooking Haliburton. He's got Neesmith in a chokehold again last night. For no reason. For no reason. He's holding Miles Turner. Look, guys scrap and claw and hold. I get it. But, like, blatantly and extending the reach. What more do you leave the referee to do but to call that? You know.
No, it's not. And we've seen too many bouts. And this is look, CP. We could talk about substitution patterns. And again, I think last night a lot of the criticisms of Tom Thibodeau were very fair. But when it comes down to it, and I drive Giant fans nuts with this too. Giant fans are always trying to fire the coach. They fired like 4 coaches every 2 years, and they continue to be terrible. And the fans are like, I don't understand. I'm like, well, yeah, it's because the players aren't executing well enough, right? Whether they're not talented enough or just not executing enough, whatever the case might be any given year. For the Knicks, they're talented enough. And I think that's what's frustrating about this group is that they're very talented, but too many times a lot of times because of just not playing smart basketball, they don't play to their skill level. And I think they just have been out executed by the Pacers. Not much is separating this team from a talent perspective, but just on level of play in this series, CP, the Pacers have played smarter, more consistent, cleaner basketball than the Knicks have over the course of this series. You can complain about a lot of other things, but bottom line, that to me is why the Knicks are down 3-1. The Pacers have simply executed and played a better brand of basketball.
At a championship level. That looks like a team that wants to go to the NBA Finals, man, and the Knicks just can't help themselves. So, frustrating. Shout out to Santana. $5 super chat from a franchise channel member says, to be honest, I'm begging the basketball gods to let OKC win. We cannot have off-Broadway Randall in the finals, and we don't make it up.
Honestly, CP, and the only reason I'm not completely devastated right now, Knicks aren't beating. If Knicks got to the finals, they ain't beating the Thunder anyway, dude. Like, the Thunder are really, really good. Like, how many... Do you think the Knicks would get to 100 points in a game against the Thunder's defense?
The way I saw them clamp up Ant-Man and those guys in Game 3, or was it Game 4?
Yeah.
That was spectacular, man.
It was spectacular.
On a string.
Dude, they'll be running out Wallace and Dort and all these guys against Jalen Brunson. They got like 3 Naismiths on their team. They got like 3 of them. Yeah. Like, there's no Nemharts and Shepherds that are going to be on Brunson when they play the Thunder. Like, that's going to be, and they're going to put Jalen Williams on Towns. And that's the other thing with Towns, right? He actually has gotten the matchup he needs in this series. Right. And it still hasn't been enough. They haven't put the wing on him, and he hasn't been able to do enough against the centers. Yeah.
Another thing, I think Siakam's been great in this series, man.
He's been awesome.
Game 2, he was phenomenal. And then, he's picking them apart, especially in transition. The mid-range it's been ridiculous. He's been very aggressive as well. He has not let up. And sometimes he has that, that tendency. He hasn't let up on him this series, man. He's been great.
Actually, Supi, this is a good question. Because before the series, I gave the Knicks the advantage because I thought they had 4 of the best 6 players in the series. You could argue 5 of the best 7. If you rank the players right now, would you say Haliburton and Siakam have been the 2 best players in this series?
Yeah.
Or would you say Brunson's been better than Siakam?
No, I think Siakam he's been dominant.
And I think Brunson's defense has been so bad that you have to put Siakam ahead of him. I agree with you. So that's why they're losing, right? Again, you come out rotations and DeLon Wright and Deuce McBride. When the other 2 teams' 2 best players are better than all of your guys in a series, it's going to be hard to win, dude.
Yeah. It is going to be hard to win. Shout out to OK Burt, $10 super chat says, do you think Brunson has been playing out of character since Game 3? I feel he has this I have to get back at you energy and is rushing his attempts on offense or taking up the whole 24. What do you think there, man?
I don't think I didn't get that sense in Game 4 that he was trying to play hero ball, dude, to be honest with you. I think they actually in the first half, dude, they scored 60-something points in the first half. Right? And I thought they actually moved the ball pretty well, and he didn't go into that one-on-one mode until the end of the clock. And then he, like you talked about, he only took, 2-3 shots in the fourth quarter. So I think we ran into that a little bit in Game 2, if I recall, where he kind of got into, I want to beat Naismith one-on-one mode at, the start of the third quarter. Yeah. I think other than that, I don't think that's been a problem. I think he's gotten, frankly, really good looks this series, Brunson. He's missed some of them, but I think he's gotten whatever looks he wants.
Yeah, I think he's been fine there. It's just been the defense. They've been picking him apart.
Agreed.
So it almost negates a lot of his offensive wizardry. But we'll see what happens tomorrow in Game 5. So to everybody watching on the Facebook side, on the Bleacher Report side, we have Andrew Nebhard 2 on Bleacher Report says, you guys need a real backup point guard. Well,
yeah. I mean, you probably do. Yeah. To be honest with you, you hope next year it's Kolek, that he can develop into that guy. Like their Knicks' own little TJ McConnell type of player. I think a better offensive player, maybe not quite as good defensively as McConnell. But look, they finally stopped playing campaign CP. If they would have listened to us back in the Pistons series, maybe they'd be in a better spot right now. Right. But look, we knew that structurally, we knew this was a problem this year. The same way Towns Brunson was a problem. We knew they were going to be a shallow team this year because of the Towns trade. They had no exceptions. They were right up against the apron. We knew it was going to be a shallow team this year, and they're going to have to make do, and that's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, no question about it, man. So certainly frustrating. Salute to, I want to salute one of our sponsors of today's show, and that is our friends over at Bear Mattress, the best sleep for an active lifestyle. Check out our guys at bearmattress.com. Use our code KFTV for 40% off site-wide. That is the best deal that you are going to find anywhere. And the best thing about Bear Mattress is that you just fill out a short survey and they will pair you up with the mattress that best fits your lifestyle and your sleep preferences. For example, they set me up with the Elite Hybrid, and as you see there on the site, almost 4,000 reviews at a 4.5-star rating. And shout out to my guys at Bear Mattress, man. The Elite Hybrid has me sleeping very well as I try to forget some of these brutal losses.
Even last night, dude? Even last night you slept well on that thing?
Yeah. I slept till like 11 o'clock this morning, man.
Oh, God bless you, man. That's great.
Yeah. Well, ending the show at 2:30 in the morning, I had to catch up. Yeah, so once again, shout out to our guys at Bear Mattress. Use our code KFTV for 40% off site-wide. Okay. What else from last night's game, man? That was just like crushing me.
Look, to me, it's CP, like, you just got to you have to figure something out defensively. Like, I think you're at the point now where you just have to switch everything, and if that gets Towns or Brunson into foul trouble, I don't think there's anything you can do at this point.
Do you put OG on Haliburton? Do you put OG on Haliburton? I see people seeing that.
I don't love the matchup. I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference, but you're down 3-1. At this point, you have to pull every string that you can.
Yeah.
The problem, though, is then, I guess with Towns out there on Siakam, since you already changed the starting lineup, I think it's more doable. So, yeah, I would pull that lever and see how it goes.
I'm surprised we didn't see. I don't think we've seen it at all this series.
No, I don't think we have. I think we've seen it on one or two switches, and that's it.
Yeah, on a switch, but not really as a primary assignment. I would go for that. I would definitely go for that, and just see what happens. It's a defense that has been really dooming this team.
Now, do you think I know the pace messed them up, but their offense is better when they move fast, CP.
Yeah.
How much do you think they should lean into playing fast, and how much do you think they should intentionally try to slow this thing down and ugly it up?
It's so funny because most of last night watching the game, I do this on most games, and even when I'm at the game, I always, when they get the rebound and they get a steal, I go like this, especially when Josh Hart has the ball, like, slow it down. Even when I want them to play fast, I'm just like scared that they're gonna turn it over or blow a layup or something. So I'm like, slow it down. But I'm with you in that I like when they play fast and play faster, especially you don't want to play against set defenses because their half-court offense can get a little bit shaky. I just felt like last night they were too fast, which led to them just handing the ball to the Pacers. Hart, McBride, Bridges, just here. Like, I'm like, how do you not even see this guy right here or anticipate that this guy's going to be there? I just felt like they were way too sped up last night.
Yeah, I'm with you. To your point, though, I want to just point out, I know a lot of fans were mad about the end of game 2 with Thibodeau not calling a timeout there. I did not have a huge problem with that, to be honest with you. Yeah. It's actually very difficult. If you want Brunson to take that shot to run a play to set up a 6'2 player to get a wide-open three-pointer in a half-court set with the defense set and a tall defender on Brunson. So if you want Brunson to take that shot, that's the only way he's going to get that shot. And by the way, I thought he had Towns wide open. I thought they came over to help on Brunson, and he had Towns open for a 3. So I honestly did not mind not calling a timeout there. A lot of people were killing Thibodeau for that. I did not mind that necessarily, to be totally honest with you. I thought that was an okay shot.
To me, it was okay if you got a better shot. Like, Brunson's hot zone is the elbow. He took a top-of-the-key 3. There was 14 seconds left. I just didn't like the shot.
No, that's fair.
Like try to set a screen, or maybe Towns is open. You get to, God forbid, you got to pass it to Towns, which you just don't see much. I just didn't feel like they optimized that particular set. Like, if you want to try to catch these guys not set, I'm all for it, as long as you're getting Brunson his shot in his zone, and that elbow 3 is more so where he can hit that. Just kind of a tough one to lose on.
Hey, it is. Unfortunately, there's been no easy answers in this series, man. Look, and I think we need to recognize this too, CP. And as a Knicks fan, we hate to do this. We do need to tip our cap a little bit to the Pacers.
Oh yeah,
they're good.
Oh yeah,
like, this is one of the best offensive teams I've seen in a long time.
Yes,
they're difficult to cover, and I can't stand him but Haliburton's
He was
freaking
brilliant.
awesome, dude.
He was brilliant last night, man.
He might be the best passer in the NBA right now. In terms of orchestrating an offense, he is terrific. He drives you nuts. He's infuriating, but man, that dude can play ball.
Yeah, he was brilliant last night. You know, you can't say much else but to tip your cap to him, as you said. You know, Siakam and Turner, when he's been out there, has been great, and that's why it's
dude, even game one with Naismith shooting, like he had 6 threes in a row.
6 threes. Yeah, tough.
It's
tough, man. So what does your gut tell you tomorrow, man? You'll be in the building. What does your gut tell you tomorrow night? Prediction.
This team fights. I think they survive. I think they send it back to Indiana for a game 6. And that's all you can do now, man.
Yeah.
It's one game at a time. Make the series go one game longer. Every game you make the Pacers play, weird things can happen. You know, someone can pull a hamstring. Someone can strain a calf. Someone can step on a foot. Anything can happen. Just make them play as many games as possible. I think they'll come out, they'll win game 5. I can't imagine them losing all 3 games at home in a playoff series.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I hope I'm right, but we'll see. I think, and even if they do lose, I think they'll come out and they'll play well. Because look, they can play well and still lose the game.
True.
I think they'll come out, play a good game. I think it'll be enough to win. And hopefully we'll have a game 6. I guess that would be Saturday?
Saturday.
In Indy?
Yeah. Hopefully, man. Now, also, you are at the fate of Giants OTAs, man. Talk about the experience. What'd you see out there today?
Yeah, technically it's the second OTA, but yesterday's practice was about 35 minutes, and they did nothing. So it really is, in reality, their first real OTA.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, man. We got touchdown passes from all the quarterbacks. Tommy DeVito was on fire, man. He was he was like 3 of 4 for 3 touchdowns to like Jordan Blythe, their undrafted rookie wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But look, it's always fun to see the guys out there throwing, seeing Jackson Dart do his thing. A lot of the veterans coming off injuries didn't do much, but it's just fun to see him on the field. You guys, just go to Giants.com. We have all the written up articles, my practice reports up there. Big Blue Kickoff Live, we did an hour on practice today. It's on podcast platforms, YouTube, all that stuff. So check it out, folks. It's good coverage of the Giants. We got about 3 weeks of these practices, and then we got a week off until the season starts rolling again, and we're back with the foot on the gas pedal for hopefully a better season than last year.
Yeah. It's always that time of year where it's like, oh, man, OTAs are here already. And then before you know it, the whole summer goes by and training camp starts up in August and boom.
Yeah, you're telling me, bro.
Yeah, right into preseason. So it's a good time of year, man. Definitely a good time of year. So you'll be there for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I'll be here all week. We'll media coverage next couple of days. I'll have practice reports every day, and then mandatory minicamp middle of June, and then we have our month, and then we're rock and rolling end of July to get the 25 season ready to go.
All right, man. Well, great stuff, John. We'll circle back maybe Friday if you have a window. We'll recap Game 5, and hopefully it'll
be a happy recap.
Yeah, hopefully we can preview a little Game 6, man. But thanks again, man. Great job as
usual.
Thanks,
CP. Always a pleasure, my man.
Yes, sir. All right, that was our guy, John Schmeelk, in the building. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Just had to get that out, man. Just a tough loss all the way around. But, hey, tomorrow's another day. Today we made it to Wednesday. And tomorrow, as this Knicks team goes into Thursday, Game 5, hopefully they have some magic left in the Garden, man. Once again, thanks to everybody watching on Bleacher Report side. Thanks to everybody watching on the Facebook side, as well as YouTube. 600 people in here. So shout out to everybody. If you guys are just getting off work, if you guys are on the grind, leave me a hashtag grind. And so to one of our sponsors of today, man, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Hey, with over $25 billion recovered and over 500,000 clients served, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people for over 35 years. And hey, call them up. If you've been injured, you deserve to be paid. So give them a call at Pound Law. That's pound 529 on your cell phone, or you can go to forthepeople.com/KFTV. That's forthepeople.com/KFTV. Also want to shout another one of our sponsors, and that is Car Gurus, man. Go to cargurus.com to sell your or buy your car today. One other thing about cargurus.com is it's the #1 most visited car shopping site in America. They also have an app that you can download on the Apple Play Store, and works like many other car search sites. You search for the car you want, but then they will show you the best deals around. So you can do some research, you can buy, you can sell. It's a great marketplace, man. So once again, check out our guys at carguru.com. Gurus with an S, cargurus.com, to find the best deal for you. Okay. Shout out to our guys once again, man. And once again, salute to everybody in the chat. We will be back tonight for our game preview. Alex will be back tonight. We'll be back live at 10 p.m. So make sure you guys join us there. Once again, salute to all of our franchise channel members. Thanks to everybody for tapping in. Wise Guy, I see you on the grind. Britton Parks, K-Dot, Eric L. Beats, Coach Rubens, salute. Vaughn Allen, Terrell 1, salute to you guys, man. All right? Orange and blue skies, man. Keep your head up, Knicks Nation. We will be back on Thursday, but we at KFTV will be back later tonight. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to my guy, John Schmeelk. Always does a great job. Make sure you guys are following him for you Giants fans on Giants.com as well. All right? See you guys later. Peace.